Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome here if you're new. Whenever I see something that's to do with like the UK and Islamophobia, that kind of thing, I take note, okay? I take note. And I feel like the UK is really interesting and not necessarily in a good way. Like, we're seriously one of the most tolerant countries in the world. And on paper, like, that should be a good thing. Like, pretty much anyone can come here and just blend in and, make a life for themselves. And as I said, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you have a ideology like Islam, which is very powerful and, also believes that it has the right to take over, and these are not my words, this is coming from the source itself. When you have that situation, unfortunately, you can end up with what's happening in the UK, where like people will happily see no issue in promoting their religious dominance and actually stopping others from speaking out against said religion, especially one like Islam, which doesn't like to be criticized, has apostasy laws, and by extension, the religion. There's been an attempt for a while now to get like an official definition of Islamophobia, which I'm going to get into. In the UK, in the same way that you see like anti-Semitism, even a specific definition. Now, in the case of anti-Semitism, I completely get it. I mean, being Jewish is also an ethnicity, and historically, Jews as an ethnicity have been persecuted for a very long time, especially here in Europe. There's a huge history of Jews being, treated horrifically. There are still a lot of anti-Semitic tropes, people who just casually hold anti-Semitic views, because unfortunately a lot of it's like passed down. Some of it's just in the collective consciousness, which is terrible, I know. So in that case, like, that's a racist thing, that's a race issue. That's not necessarily just about the religion, like that's actually about the Jews as a group of people, like a characteristic they inherit, i.e. being Jewish, which they can't control, like that's just who they are, and people historically have targeted them for that. So we have that definition in order to protect Jewish people. And being a woman, like, I know that again there are specific forms of hatred targeted towards women, specific types of violence targeted towards women. Again, so we have these definitions of like misogyny, and that's why these definitions exist. When it comes to Islam, there's been a push from, I guess, certain Islamists or other people who actually want to have the same thing. They want us to have an official definition of Islamophobia, because according to them, there's hatred targeted towards Muslims, but also the religion of Islam. In the UK, even though we're tolerant, we also supposedly have free speech. So seeing Islam is a religion, an ideology, first and foremost, before anything else. It's not a race. It's not a group of people. Anyone can become Muslim, like I did. Anyone, can leave Islam, like I did, and many others have done. Therefore, it's not the same at all as a race or being a woman. It's something which is a belief. It's a belief system that you hold. So fair enough, when people talk about anti-Muslim hatred, that's a real thing. You can be targeted. People can be bigoted and discriminate against you because you're a Muslim, which is completely wrong. That shouldn't happen. But trying to create a definition for hatred towards Islam is something completely different. And that is very, very, very dodgy. And, well-meaning people will get swept up into this and think, oh yeah, they're just trying to, stop discrimination against the people. But that's not what it's about. Recently, because of the new Labour government who's come into the UK, who were elected in the 2024 general election, ever since there's been this kind of worry that certain MPs will join in this kind of fight to get an official Islamophobia definition pushed through Parliament, so that Islam is actually protected by law. And that's been really worrying for many people, not just ex-Muslims. It's worrying for so many different types of people, because obviously Islam holds many views which are actually contrary to many views we hold here in the West. So let's just say it's certain treatments of women, certain views about other religions like Hinduism, because it's a polytheist kind of religion, and ultimately it would stop criticism, or it could potentially stop all criticism against Islam, which means we can't say anything about the ideology because it's protected now by law. So I found this video on Sky News, who kind of made this report about what's been going on recently, like the latest developments. And I really want to share it with you guys because I think it's really interesting. So let's watch it, and I'm going to give you my opinion from the perspective, of an ex-Muslim convert.
Why has defining Islamophobia become so controversial? Discrimination and prejudice is defined in the Equalities Act, but British Muslims say without a specific definition on Islamophobia, some hate crimes can go underreported. According to multiple monitoring groups, hate crimes have gone up significantly in the last year. Home Office data shows anti-Muslim hate crimes in England and Wales surged 20% last year, making Muslims the target in nearly half of religion-based offences.
Like, straight from the get-go, guys, like, anyone who's targeting people for being Muslim, that's wrong. Like, religion aside, like what they've just reported, those statistics, like, that's not acceptable. Like, no one should be doing that.
So to counter this, the government set up a task force to define Islamophobia. It's an independent working group, and their report has now been handed back to the government. It's now up to the government to decide whether to adopt this new definition or to scrap it entirely. The former faith minister who started the review says the government must adopt the definition in full.
There's so many definitions out there. This is an opportunity to address a big problem in our communities. I would request and urge the government to adopt a definition which fits within the terms of reference and what we embarked to go about as we started this process. It's a strong message to our communities.
What, that they're not protected by this government?
The work that needs to be done is not being done. These are lived experiences, and I'm one of those people that have suffered.
The chair of the working group is former Conservative MP Dominic Grieve, but despite that, the Conservatives oppose this new definition.
I mean, like, this is what I don't ever understand. Actually, no, I do understand it, but I just want to put, like, I would love to actually get an MP like that guy from Burnley, like, and say to him, okay, fair enough, all of us, every sane person, every decent person doesn't want to see particular communities targeted, right, because of their certain religion. I agree. But why do you have to call it Islamophobia? Like, why can you not just call it anti-Muslim hatred? If you don't call it the correct thing, like, I think that's more harmful to the communities by labeling it Islamophobia, because number one, Islamophobia, like, there's nothing wrong with disliking an ideology. Like, that makes people feel like attacking Muslims and attacking the ideology is the same thing, when it's not. It's actually better for people to actually separate these two things, not put them together.
I think we all need to be equal before the law, whether that's for penalty or protection. And there already is protection in the law. So if you are a victim of violence, a victim of harassment or discrimination because of your religion, there are multiple protections in the law. Those should stay in place. But what I deeply worry about is putting one group in society on a pedestal and giving them special protections above everybody else, because actually that will only breed resentment.
So will the government adopt this new Islamophobia definition? Well, it's reported that the government will refer to anti-Muslim hatred instead of using the word Islamophobia. They say this definition is about protecting people and not religion, and it will never interfere with the right of freedom of speech.
I think there's also an enormous concern around the implications for immigration policy and counter-terrorism policy. Because if this definition is adopted, the people pushing for it have explicitly said in writing that they want to use it to undermine immigration policy. They want to use it to undermine counter-terrorism policy, which they say, both of which they say, are biased against Muslims.
When you see one particular community not having a relationship with government, it's worrying. There have been difficult times for the Labour Party, but we've covered a lot of ground, and we continue to do a lot more work to engage with all communities, and in particular, build the trust between the government and the Muslim community.
So guys, the last thing that they mentioned, that this is already being used people have actually said they intend to use this, according to this report, in kind of asylum trials and areas like that. That's worrying. That's truly worrying. Because I think that could end up being a security threat. As they said, you know, no group should feel like their belief is prioritized over others. Like, that just cannot happen. And these politicians are not going to say it because obviously they're politicians, but you have to realize that this would open the door for some of the worst kind of Islamists who are basically like Muslims who have a political agenda, and they are trying to, you know, get aspects of like the Sharia into UK law and everything like that. That's not me saying, you know, any particular MP, like that MP who's in the video, like, I'm not saying he's an Islamist, but what happens is that you do end up paving the way for people with a very dark agenda to come through. What I would like is for more people to come out and say, no, feel free to criticize any ideology you want, especially one that has a lot of hatred within it. Feel free to criticize it. It's your right in this country to speak out against other ideologies, as long as it's done safely and you're not actually targeting individuals because of something they believe. Like, no, that's what needs to be said. As I always say, this country is very tolerant. You know, many people have come here and made a good life for themselves, but you have to be careful, and these conversations have to be had. It needs to be said. People need to realize that there are people who are very happy to see this country become an Islamic country, for Sharia law to take over here, and they feel like it's their religious duty to do so. I think there will be more attempts like this in the future in the UK, probably in the near future. I feel like some of our values have been used against us from certain people, and they've clearly seen, you know, an opportunity to push their own kind of wants and needs. And it's actually now down to British people to be educated and informed on these things, because at the end of the day, these people are just doing what they believe their God is telling them to do. They believe their faith is correct, and the type of belief it is, they're going to push it no matter what. Like, they are. And they have no qualms about, you know, change definitions legally if it aids them. As I said, it's actually down to the people of the UK who don't want that to happen to actually get informed and realize what certain people are doing. As I always say, I know people who are not even Muslim who would defend things like the Islamophobia bill. They would be like, yeah, of course, Islamophobia is wrong. And if you go and say to them, hold on a second, like, Islamophobia is like a misnomer, like, that's actually not the correct way to describe it, they will defend it. They'll say, no, speaking out against Islam is wrong. Like, you know, they're oppressed people. And yeah, you kind of just sit there in disbelief and you're like, wow, you are defending something which you don't even know much about, but because you perceive it to be like a kind of marginalized, I guess, foreign group of people. And that's why, as I said, there has to be conversations about how there is a difference between race and religious belief. They're not the same thing at all. So I'm happy to see that the UK has taken the right decision, especially seen as it's a Labour government. Okay, guys, so I thought I would just share that with you. Just share a little bit of news from the UK, an update from the UK. And I don't want to see the UK, you know, fall apart or lose its freedoms or anything like that. So I'm keeping my eye on the situation, but I'll be honest, I don't know where the future is going to go in this country. I have no clue. Let's just hope the UK retains the qualities that made it such a successful country in the first place. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos like this about, you know, topics on religion, topics on societal issues, all of those things. Also, hit like if you like what you see and you want to see more. And as always, guys, I wish you all the very best. I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so much for watching.